Yeah, normally what I do, there we go. Normally what I do is I just talk and then we'll wait till like the first person gets on, and then you're like, oh, and we're going.
Hey guys.
See, it's like okay, we'll just hang out and we'll hang
Lola
out.
here.
Sweet baby. What's also funny too, because then I don't think about it when I put it on YouTube after. And I'm like, oh yeah, these people are gonna be watching right now. Like, oh, there we go. We got 2. Oh, we got 4. Look at us, man. We got all the people. We got all of them.
Okay, Lola.
All right.
Okay.
All right. We keep Lola here. Should be all right. Well, we're going to jump right in. We got a special guest this evening, Miss Mallory Woodward.
Hello.
I still have her in my phone as Mallory Rutledge,
Yes.
but that's how we roll.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you coming and spending time. She's the first lady guest.
Yes.
So we have a lady guest now. So now we're up there in the upper echelon of guests. Like just having a couple guys, that's one thing. But having ladies, it's on. And then we brought
legit.
Lola too. We had to double down.
Yeah.
So we got 2
That's
ladies
legit.
on now.
Yes.
So
Well, thanks for having me. Super proud of you for getting this going, and I appreciate you bringing me on.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to be here.
no, we appreciate you spending time with us. So as we discussed, we have the template, which is marketing,
Yes.
but it's otherwise known as business. Come on
Yes.
over here.
There you go.
Sit there.
There
Okay,
you
lay
go.
down, baby. Then we'll talk about music,
Yes.
and then we'll talk about musings. So we'll save all the sappy stuff for the end.
All right.
That way everybody out there is all warmed up. They're ready to rock and roll.
Perfect.
Now we're in the double digit. Look at you, girl. You popular, man. All you got to do is tag Mallory on here in the 18,000 people show. They're like, oh, my God, let's go. Listen, man.
So,
So the first thing we'll do is we'll talk about stylish stems.
yes.
So we know you went to KSU because I remember when you graduated,
Yes.
right? And that was for what? Communications?
Communications,
Okay.
public relations.
Perfect. And then, so of course, as you're going through school, everybody's like, oh, you're going to do something with your degree,
Exactly.
right? And then you get out and you realize that a majority of people don't, right? So how did this segue?
Yes.
How did we find floral design in our life?
Yeah, so that was kind of the $1,000,000 question when I was in school of, how do I take these passions that I have for design and really just creativity, and how do I turn that into a job? And so I thought, okay, public relations, I can do corporate event planning with this.
Okay.
And so that was the plan. And towards the end of graduation, I ended up taking an internship in IT, at an IT company, because that was really all that was out there. There wasn't
I'm
really...
about to play at all kinds of IT
I was
events.
like, well, I'm young, about to get married, and I need money, and I need an internship on my resume, so let's just go with it. And literally cried in my cubicle. It was just like, what have I done kind of moment. I have to get a degree because not going to college is not an option, and this is just not for me.
Right.
So end up graduating and decide this isn't going to happen. I have to find something that I love, and so I wanted to get into wedding planning. So
Okay.
put some feelers out there, and through a friend of a friend, I got in touch with Stylish Stems, and I thought, okay, I will use this opportunity to get me to planning, and I'll meet people in the industry, and I'll take it from there. Well, I worked my first wedding with Stylish Stems, and fall in love. I was literally jumping around in my kitchen after telling my husband, this is amazing, like, you don't even have to pay me, just let me keep the flowers after
Right.
the wedding. Like, I was in love. And from there on, it was, I'm going for it. So really just decided I'm going to stick with Stylish Stems. I think for the first few months, I didn't even touch a flower. I was the grunge worker. I was doing the buckets. I was doing the votives. I was just there because
Right.
I'm going to, pursue this fully. So doing as much as I could, going to bridal shows, doing photo shoots for free, learning everything I can about flowers, and working multiple weddings a day, all weekend long, pickups after the wedding, just you name
Yeah,
it.
those are
and
fun.
I was there. Like, I was going to be the girl to not say no, and I was going to learn as much as I could. And then about a year of doing that, they offered me a design position, so I was able to design and execute my own weddings. And
Very nice.
that was amazing. So super nervous when I first started. I was like, gosh, what am I doing?
Right.
Like,
You're going to fake it till you make it.
I'm going to fake it till I make it. Like, and all the doubts. I was so nervous. I end up giving myself shingles like the first year.
Man. You went hardcore.
In my head.
You went hard in the paint.
Yeah, I was in my
I'm gonna
head
get some shingles on
this
it.
is somebody's wedding. What if I mess it up? Or what if my order doesn't come in?
That's true. Yeah.
What if, all the
I didn't think about you don't think about that when you're thinking about the way, at least on the outside looking in, you're like, not only do I have to execute what I've already kind of laid out for them, but then I have to execute it because this is their special day.
Exactly.
Right? Who knows what's going on? Because I've been married, you've been married. It's crazy on that day. You don't even have time to think.
The tensions and the stakes are high for sure. So, did that for about a year and eventually started getting some confidence and then just kept growing and growing and growing from there.
I love it. What's your favorite thing about weddings as a whole? Because you mentioned earlier in your story, you're like, I love weddings. Like, what is it about the wedding that just fires you up?
I think at every single wedding I say, oh, this is my favorite wedding. Like, it's just so beautiful. But the main thing that I love about my job is that it's never the same thing ever.
Oh, okay.
There's always something that's going to come up. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. Things come up. And so it's like, whether it's even on our team or with other vendors, or it's raining, or it's this and that, something is throwing you off your game. And it seems like I wouldn't like that because I'm very like type A and very gonna plan and have control of everything. But I do enjoy that because it keeps things interesting and it keeps things fun, and you just gotta roll with it.
I love it. So one other thing, so I know, just because I know you, that you're really good at the business side of the deal. So how did all that come together? Were you just like jump right in, or did you learn like by watching what not to do? How did you get to where you're at on the business side of it?
So a lot of it was goal setting for me, and all the Enneagram people out there, I'm an Enneagram 3, so that's the achiever. And it's all about goals. And so every year I would set my goal, and for like the first 4 years, I doubled and tripled my goal. And I measured that at the beginning financially. I want to bring in this amount of weddings. I want to take home this amount of weddings. And that's kind of how I saw myself as meeting my goals or being successful. And then about 4 years in, I had my son, and that I changed my mindset a little bit because I want to be home with him more, and so I delegated a little bit more, and it was less monetary. I want to have maybe 3 5-star reviews this month or something like that. And so a little bit of switch, but always goals, I guess, is the answer to that question. Just that helps me kind of stay on track and see, am I doing good? Am I accomplishing things? And at the end of the year, even month to month, really, I look back and I say, did I get it there or not? And if not, how can I improve to meet the goal? So that's really kind of what just got me going, is setting small goals and then just keep going and going.
I love it. So that kind of answers one. So I got 2 questions.
Yes. So
the first one is, and I'll paint a picture on how I do it, because what I like to do is I like to have, some people call them objectives, right? So like little mini goals and stepping stones to get to your big goal. But then some people just call them mini goals and big goals, right? I mean, they're synonymous.
Right.
So let's say we'll look at the calendar year of 2021. Right. So do you have a goal set out per quarter? Is it the whole thing? Like, how do you start chipping away at that massive goal that you set for yourself?
Yeah, so with the nature of weddings, it's a little bit seasonal. So especially in Georgia, the spring and the fall are our busiest months, and then the winter and the summer are slower because it's so hot here, and then nobody wants to get married outside in the winter. So
I did. Well, it was May. Still counts as the summertime.
Well,
almost.
I got married in August because
why not?
That was left. So
let's just throw it all into August.
Crazy people
Let's
that
go.
do get married in August in Georgia, but outside in black dresses. But
I love it.
Whatever.
Why not?
Whatever. So pretty much just breaking it down by season. So obviously the numbers are different based on what we typically do at that time, but I try and break it down by season. And then
that makes sense.
Because they're weddings, I also do week to week. So we book sometimes a year or even more in advance, so I can
during normal times.
Yes, yeah. Before COVID, that's a whole nother topic.
We'll get to that later.
That's a whole nother topic.
Let's stay on normal life cycle of life. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I know that the weddings are mostly coming, and so I can see what is on the calendar and what I need to do with that specific wedding to bring home or do X, Y, and Z. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the second question I had was, because you mentioned delegating, right? After you got, most business owners, this is where they hurt. This is where they fail tremendously because they don't ever want to let go of the reins, even if, it's just a little bit of it. So how did that whole transition go for you? Was it easy for you? Was it challenging? If it was challenging, do you remember anything specific where you're like, oh man, this is
rough.
Rough.
Challenging more mentally than in reality because we have great people, and so they weren't doing anything that I was like, gosh, you're not doing a good job.
Right.
I need to take this over. But it was challenging mentally because sometimes that means you're going to make a little bit less because you're paying out more, or, like I said earlier, just wanting to have that control and micromanage every little thing. So getting to that point mentally where you just kind of weigh your options and say it's more worth it for me to delegate this and have this time placed somewhere else. And I also kind of got to a point where obviously in the beginning you're doubling, you're tripling, but then you're only one person. You can only take on so much. I was
going to say, you can only grow so hard.
Get to a point where you can continue this because you're maxed out. And so I kind of got to the point where I was maxed out, and which is awesome. That means demand is there. People want to book me. This is great. But I have to spend my time doing other things if I want to find new ways to grow or take maybe a larger wedding, things like that.
Well, so that makes me think of a question, which is, whenever you get a bride, right?
Yes.
Kind of, and you don't have to go step by step, but tell me, is that, with your whole cycle of everything from, getting the lead and then setting up the meeting and then, going through all the creative part, because we all as a musician, creative part's the best part. Yeah. But no one understands all of the work that goes around setting it up so you can be creative. It's stressful as all get out, right? So do you really enjoy the part where you're getting to meet the brides and finding out what their picture is in their mind so then you can create off that? What's that whole thing look like?
Yes, definitely. There's definitely the client that you really, really quick click with, and you're like, okay, now this is going to be gorgeous. Yeah. Not everybody has the same style that maybe you want to, but when you get a client like that that's really, when they give you full control too, that's a big one. Sometimes people say, I found this picture on Instagram and I want to copy it exactly. Right. I get that, but it's not as fun because you don't have the creative ability to make it your own. You just have
none.
to, you kind of have to make it what they want, and that's fine. You get a few of those weddings here and there, but when you meet the bride that's like, I trust you, this is my general vibe, but you take it, I'm like, yes, please. This, and those are always the ones that I look forward to, I'm so excited about, and that I remember the most, definitely. I used to not like that side of the job as much because I wanted to be making. I didn't want to be sitting there on emails and calls and
the
meeting
minutia.
At Starbucks. I just thought I wanted to just be with flowers at all times. So I'm learning to like that more, definitely. And like I said, when you get that really good client, it's it's legit. Yeah, it's good.
So we do all that. So we get the lead, we get the individual, we find out what they're doing.
Yep.
What's the next step? Do you kind of put together, I'll kind of do it in my terms just because I don't know.
Yeah.
So say that you get commissioned for a building, right? Well, then they put the blueprints together and hey, is this kind of what we're looking for or what? Do you guys have to do something similar or what's the next step to kind of show them where you're at? So you're on the same wavelength.
Yes. So thankfully, Pinterest has been a huge thing. So we can look at pictures. It's hard with flowers. A lot of people don't know a lot of varieties. Why would you?
Yeah, I don't know very many until I watched that show on HBO.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I know all of them now. I'm like, yeah, I know what that one is. I can't say it, but I know
Yes.
it. Yeah.
So there's a little bit of like trust there, but pictures are a great way to kind of get us going. And then I try and be super detailed in like my descriptions of what everything's going to look like. They book me, we're good to go, and then we'll meet like about a month and just finalize everything. But for the most part, they're kind of surprised on their wedding day. They're going to see the
cool.
Yeah,
all right.
They're going to see the
That's
product.
a good or bad thing.
Yeah, they have the option to like pay for it in advance, but we're paying for the product twice. We're putting it together twice. So
right. Well,
really,
it's dying immediately.
Right. For the most part, they're seeing it for the first time on the wedding day. So that's
cool.
Actually a really fun part of my job too, when I get to present the bride with her bridal bouquet and she's all nervous and you give it to her. Sometimes they cry because they're so happy. Sometimes they're like so nervous they don't say anything, and you're like, "Oh gosh, does she not like it?" But they're
just in shell shock from everything else going on.
Then they loosen up and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I love it!" Or when they see the reception for the first time and it's like it all clicks for them and they get it and they love it. It's a pretty rewarding feeling because it's definitely instant gratification. Like they can see it, it's right there, and so it's a fun part of my job.
I love it. Well, there's some. So, you guys are on Instagram. Are you on TikTok now too?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not,
but your crew is. Yeah, your crew. Yeah. I don't know how to do that. I don't even. I try to be all awesome and creative on Instagram. Like, hey, I got a podcast over here, and I'm like, but did I do it right? Because I always mess it up. So, with that being said, if you can check out their Instagram and the TikTok, because then they have all the videos of all the stuff that they're putting together, and it's all in these different crazy angles and has music behind it. It's a trip because
Shout out to Megan, because she is our young cool girl, and she's taking all the videos and puts it all together. And I'm there, but when I see the TikTok, I'm like, okay.
You're like, dang, I didn't realize it looked that cool.
Yes.
But no, it's super sick because that's one of those things Cancel showed me. I'm like, dang, bro. I mean, obviously we know you guys are good at what you do. Otherwise, people wouldn't keep calling you.
Thank you.
But it's just funny because I'm like, dude, that's a trip, bro.
Yes.
TikTok's a like I don't get on TikTok, but I think that's a really good idea and a really good platform for what y'all are doing.
Yeah, it was like the first time I realized, oh man, like I'm getting old because I just have no clue like what this is.
It might be a good thing too. You're like, this might be good.
I don't even really want to try and learn it at this point. Like, Megan, you got it.
That's right. Well, that's
delegating.
Yeah, exactly. Back to what we were talking about earlier. You gotta get in the young person that love, because that's the thing. These folks like Natalie, she gets all fired up making these videos. I'm like, that sounds like the worst thing in the world to me. Clipping and clacking and putting some music and then yelling at the computer. I ain't got time for it. I already do that enough.
Yeah, no thanks.
No, I love it. So, with all that being said, how many weddings do you normally do a year?
Ooh, good question. So it is a little bit confusing. So the owner and myself, and then we also have one other designer. So we kind of divide and conquer. But I think I did like 84 weddings or something last year.
Even in all the COVID stuff too. That's crazy.
Yeah. So definitely doing several weddings a weekend, and like I said, it's seasonal, so some months we only have a few, and then let's like May and you have like 4 or 5 like a weekend, like it's all over the map.
It goes nuts.
Yeah,
got it.
Yeah. But obviously as a company we do more than that, but
right. And then so there's new things, or can we talk about the new things that are popping off?
Sure.
You got a new So tell me about it, because I know of it. I know.
Yes.
Everything I know is very topical, as you can tell. I know this little bit.
Yes.
So tell us about the new location and what you guys got going on.
Yeah, we're just continuing to grow, which is pretty amazing considering the wedding industry. It's been hit pretty hard with COVID, but we are previously we had like a little workspace out of our wholesaler, and we used their cooler, and we have a warehouse with all of our supplies and everything, but we are currently building a kind of all-in-one. So we'll have our warehouse, we'll have our own cooler, our own workspace, a little room where we can meet with brides and do consultations there. Where normally we'd like meet at Starbucks or meet somewhere random.
Well, then and obviously then you got to deal with their whole whole thing. Yeah.
Right.
No,
so
that's
now
gonna be
they
nice.
can come to us, and simple things like heating and air. Like, it's silly, but like when you're at a wholesaler, it's not the most glamorous.
Well, yeah, and you're in the back,
right.
and you got like one of those big wall fans that
exactly.
you probably
it's very
shouldn't be breathing in anyway.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it's floral wholesale. It's a little industrial, so this will be a lot more glamorous, and I'm really excited. I think it's going to be awesome.
I could tell.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it'll be exciting things on the horizon.
So do you have an opening date, or what?
Yes.
I know it's all estimated.
Yes.
Trying to open a business, that's what I do with a lot of my clients, is help them. And every time they're like, yeah, it's going to open in March. I'm like, man, that thing's opening in June, bro.
Yeah.
End of June if we're lucky.
I know. And then, of course, with COVID, things have gotten slowed down a little bit. But we are under construction, and we do have an estimated date of mid-March. So that's like the beginning of our wedding season. So
this is perfect timing.
Yeah, move-in date TBD, just based on how busy we're going to be, and don't want to be having growing pains while doing a ton of weddings. So we will TBD on the exact move-in date, but mid-March is what they've told us. So.
Cool. Sweet. All right. I like
exciting.
It. You should be.
You can come see us at Stylish Stems headquarters.
Dude, how cool is that? People are like, I'm going to bring a coffee in there. I'm going to see the girls. I'm going to bring some donuts. Because you know everybody loves donuts.
Yeah.
Especially your boy Brent. So speaking of donuts, we're going to segue here into music in a second.
Yes.
But the worst and best thing I've ever just realized over the last, 2 weeks. With DoorDash, you can order donuts to the house.
Oh, no. You should have not told me that.
Especially, so there's a Krispy Kreme down the street, right?
No.
And I swear the light is always on, baby. It's always on, baby. So you can literally go on DoorDash and order a sorted dozen of Krispy Kreme. Yeah. I'm telling you, man, that thing shows up on the front step in like 5 minutes. It's ridiculous. So we did that.
Between that and the DoorDash guy that's constantly delivering my Chick-fil-A, they're going to be like, oh, Mallory's got her order in again. Let's go to Aldine Court.
No, it's funny. I'll be walking around the neighborhood for exercise, and Kane's like, you want some chickie? I'm like, yeah. Let me get that chickie, bro.
Get the chick.
I love the chickie.
It's fine.
The only problem is it's not open on Sunday, and every time. I mean, this is like it's going to be until the end of time, but everybody really wants it. I think that's the whole point why it's so successful.
Could be.
Is they're like, man, we get bum rushed on Monday.
Yes.
Monday morning, people knocking out, they're outside scratching their necks,
you feel like you
acting
haven't
crazy.
had it in forever. Like you feel like it's been months, and they're like, oh, it's been one day. Like,
give me that chili, man. I need them chicken minis. Like, chill out, John.
Waffle fries.
Yeah, relax, bro.
Yes.
I love it. Well, oh, good old chickie, man. I love chickie. So, obviously, the second portion of the M&M&Ms is going to be music.
Yes.
I mentioned on, I don't know, I guess I would call it a profile. I don't really know. I'm new to this stuff. So, but what I try to do is when I post whoever the guest is going to be, I'm like, here's a little profile what we're going to be talking about, and this is what's going on with their life, try to get people to kind of engage. But one of the things that we obviously have in common about music is our boy John Mayer.
Oh, yes.
So, to tee myself up for that today, I listened to the John Mayer Trio, because I could just come in here, not bringing anything to the table.
Gotta prepare.
So one thing that I was talking to my boy Nick the other day, he's our keyboard player, right?
Yes.
And it's funny because when you're in a band, it's kind of like being in a little family. But you don't realize this until you're dealing with like family stuff. Like somebody's upset about that. Somebody's happy about that. Someone wants to play this song, but no one wants to play that song. But you got to learn it all on your own, and then we'll figure it all out, right? So all the fun drama stuff to do with that. Well, what I find myself doing is I find myself talking about John Mayer pretty much all the time, right?
Naturally.
And so one thing I was talking to Nick about the other day, because he's like, I'm not really big into the discographies and stuff, and about John Mayer, I didn't realize how good he was at guitar, and I think a lot of people didn't realize how good he was at guitar until recently, and I'm like, well, let me paint the whole picture for you. Yes. And so I was trying to tell him that, when I first got into John Mayer, I was, the sappy guy hanging out with all the girls, right? Because I still, to this day, no offense, guys, but girls I feel like I have deeper conversations with, right?
Right.
I have deep conversations with guys, but women are just different, right? They just think a little bit different, and I like that, right? So at the time, I was hanging out with my friend Kelsey and this other girl named Nicole, right? So they were both cheerleaders at Harrison.
Right.
And one of my buddies was dating one of them at the time. And I get this mixtape, right? This is like when you actually got a mixtape and it was actually still a tape, you know? And it was John Mayer, but it was before like Room for Squares and like all of the doctored up, you know, stuff. It was like just John. He cut those songs, and it was just the acoustic guitar. And so I got really into that because I was like all in the feels. I got all the hormones going in, you know, high school and thinking my life's over one day and it's the greatest day ever next.
Yes.
And so I was trying to tell him, I was like, look, I didn't get into John because he could play guitar. No one really realized that until like after Continuum, where he came out with the trio record.
Right.
And you can even hear on that show all the girls that are there like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And he's like playing all these crazy blues songs. We're like, what the hell did we come to this show for? You know, and they play like, you know, Vultures or something one time. And he's like, okay, all right, we're good. Thank God. But I say all that because it was just funny. I told him that story, and I was like, no, man, like I'm like super sappy with this dude.
Yeah.
And then we didn't realize how good he was at guitar until later. So, of course, to celebrate that conversation, I had to listen to the John Mayer trio as soon as I could.
Yeah.
How did you end up, I say all this stuff to segue right into this. Yeah. How did you, do you remember when you first got into John Mayer?
So the first memory I have of John Mayer, Mom, shout out if you're listening, in the minivan. We were probably listening to like Star 94 or something, and I'm pretty sure it was Body is a Wonderland, which is kind of weird in of itself, but I was just like, wow, I really like this guy's voice. Like, he's really legit. And we went to a concert, and I saw him in person, and I was just like blown away, because normally when you go to a concert, they don't quite sound as good.
Right.
And you're like, is this even the same person? And I was like, dang, like, this is better than the album.
Ew,
like, this is like,
good job, John.
This is better. And I was hooked. And like you said, I mean, all the feels, anytime I have any kind of emotions, I just like put on Continuum or any of the albums.
Every time, yeah.
Yeah, and it's always like different phases of your life for different albums that you like during that time. But I feel like those are probably my first memories with John Mayer.
I love it. Do you? So is Continuum your favorite record?
Continuum, and then Heartbreak Warfare.
Ooh.
Yeah, that one got me good in my feels.
Oh, Assassins. That's right. That's your song.
Assassin.
I remember that.
Yes.
Because Candace told me, she's like, Mallory loves this song. And so I was like, I listened to it a little bit differently.
I just love it. And I feel like that was like right after high school, going into college, weird times, and I was like, on repeat.
Yeah.
Just on
why
repeat.
Not?
On repeat.
That's why John made it for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
He made it for you, girl.
Pretty much, yeah. And I do like the trio, Another Side of Green. That's probably my second favorite song.
Oh, yeah. Dude, so that you brought that song up. So when I listened to this record, because obviously I play guitar, but when you play guitar or any other instrument, it's like at least I'll speak for myself. I feel like I listen to the song differently when I hear it again. Yeah. When I'm in that mindset of that instrument.
I'm sure.
And so that whole, especially that song, I mean the finger work and then the dude, he's singing after he does this intro lick, and he's still doing the intro lick while he's singing. I'm like, how is this fool even doing? And it sounds beautiful.
Oh yeah.
The dude's incredible.
Yeah, I have no idea like what a finger lick is, but I know that I listen to that song with my windows down, and I am like belting it as well. Like, I was just obsessed, and I listened to it over and over and over again, and it's still like the first time you heard it. You're like, I love this song.
It's super refreshing, because especially if you haven't listened to it, you're like, oh man, I forgot about this song, but I really didn't. I just forgot about playing it yesterday.
Yes.
Oh. That's so funny.
That song specifically, like, you know, Moody Days, back when blogs were like a really, everyone just had like a blog.
Did you get into blogging?
I had like 3 blog posts, and one of them was just the lyrics to that song, like literally just the lyrics. Like,
you're like, I'm going to take a shortcut today.
It's a little bit embarrassing, but I was that obsessed with it. So.
Did you have to type them all out, or could you copy and paste?
I probably copied and pasted.
Okay, cool. I was going to say, sometimes you need a day off of blogging, but you still got to post some content. You're like, copy and paste, bro.
It was basically just like an online journal. Like, I didn't even really say anything. I don't even think I shared it with anyone. Like, just myself.
Right, you're like, yeah, I'm going to go read this.
Yeah, I post my feelings.
Yeah, I feel a little bit better.
Good.
I'm going to go outside now.
Yeah.
So what's funny about, we'll keep going on the John Mayer train just for a little bit because I have another person I'll segue into in a minute.
Yeah.
So when me and Candace first started dating, Continuum had come out. And bro, that thing was super gnarly. So that's our favorite as a whole.
Yes.
You know, as a couple. Now my personal favorite, and I can't tell you why, besides the fact that when because John's a little bit older than me. I think he's like 44.
Yeah. Something
like that, 43, so about 10 years older than I am. But I don't know, sometimes I feel like our wavelengths match up, and maybe it's just me making up stuff. But, you know, he had this issue where he got these growths on his vocal cords.
Oh, wow.
And so when he cut Born and Raised, that's when those things really flared up. So he couldn't tour the album. Well, then at the same time, he got rid of them, and then since he couldn't really tour, he couldn't go. He could sing, but he couldn't you couldn't go on a tour.
Right, singing every night.
So then he made Paradise Valley, right?
I do love that one also.
And then he got them again.
Oh gosh.
Right, and so then after he finally got rid of all that, then he toured them together, right? The Born and Raised.
Yes.
Paradise Valley all together, which was just incredible.
Yeah.
But I say all that stuff to digress back to Born and Raised, which I think what really stood out for me in that record is because I think he finally took a step back as an artist and was like, you know what? I know everybody's expecting me to make some kind of random record and be all poppy and whatnot. If we get a pop song out of it, cool.
Yeah.
But I really just want to go back to my roots, and that's when he moved out to Montana.
Yes.
And so he cut this record, and you could just hear, just, you know, I don't know, like Queen of California, something like Olivia, which is going to be on the set list soon, y'all. Yes. That whole record really jumped out to me. And then it's funny because Candace loves Paradise Valley as well because it kind of had that same feel.
Yeah.
But man, I just love the dude. He's amazing.
He's amazing.
And then I was already a Deadhead for years, and then he decides to play with the Dead. And I'm like, I can't even handle it. I don't even know what I'm going to do with my life. So that's going to make me segue, because you mentioned something earlier, specific word being concert.
Yes.
And so now I want to talk about your boy Dave Barnes.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
So tell me how you got into Dave, and then I'll share a little story, my little Dave Barnes story.
Yeah. How did I get into Dave? I was definitely in high school, and I think I was like a little bit more into like indie or type of things, or more, not indie, maybe like alternative, like, and so I was just trying to listen to things that necessarily weren't just on the radio, just like
you're trying to be cool.
Just trying to be cool, a little bit more, not like, you know, mainstream. And so Dave, I think I found Matt Wirtz first.
Okay. Because they're like best buddies.
Yeah, and they're best buddies, and so I got into Dave, and then I saw them. They did Two Birds with One Stone concert where they were together.
That's right. I remember you freaked out about that.
That like solidified it. I love them both so much. And so it was kind of just hooked from there because he's also a hilarious person. So he's a great musician. I love all his music, but he's hilarious. So seeing him in concert and then seeing him with Matt, and they were like joking around the whole time, and it was just like a really fun experience.
I love it.
Yeah. Then he came out with a Christmas album, so that just was it because I'm obsessed with Christmas. So.
Well, I'm trying to remember. I think Al did something for you about. Do you remember what that was? What was that?
We were dating, and Dave, of course, you know, I didn't know this, but Dave had some kind of promotion where you could pay money, and he would, like, make a little video and say,
that's
like,
right.
Hey, Mallory. And so I didn't know that he was, like, doing that for everyone. I thought it was just, like, a personalized video for me, so I was, like, blown away. But he did, like, a cute little slideshow of us, and then Dave Barnes just pops up, and he's like, hey, Mallory, what's up? Just want to wish you a Merry Christmas, you and Alex. And I'm like, what?
That is awesome.
It was crazy. So I still have it. It was an actual DVD back then.
I love it.
I still have it.
I love it. That's so funny. I just thought about that. I remember something. I couldn't remember what it was.
Those major points.
I love it. Yeah, Alan's a smart dude.
He is.
He knows what he's doing.
Shout out.
Yeah, you're doing good. You're doing good, dog. Speaking of him, so, you know, we went to the in-laws for the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And this fool, Did you try that thing? Did he let you have any of it?
I didn't get any. By the time it came back, it was pretty much gone. But
Dude.
he said that you ate a good amount of it.
Yes. So this man it was like a smoked chicken buffalo dip.
Yeah.
And then he put like chopped up bacon on top with freaking blue cheese crumbles, and then he put it back in the smoker. I'm like, bro, you trying to kill me, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to have an early grave because you're cooking. Plus, I told him I'm just going to quit cooking because then I'm just going to make him do it every time.
That's pretty much what I've done. Like, I just say, whatever you want to cook me is great.
Yeah. I don't even care what it is. Just put it on the plate,
My
dog.
talents lie in other places, so you want to make me food? That's wonderful.
I love it. That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, to Dave Barnes. So I think I've only seen Dave Barnes. I think we only saw him one time. I don't know. I don't think you went to that show. We saw him at Center Stage. I can't remember.
We were definitely there because I made you get lost. You asked for directions.
That's
and
right.
I was like, no, it's definitely right.
That's
Turn
right. You were there. That's right. I
And
forgot all about
left,
that. Yes,
so.
and I had to pee real bad, so I was really upset about it.
Yeah, I was
it wasn't
definitely
like
there.
I wasn't hangry. I was more. I don't even know if you call it peegry. I don't know if that's even a term.
Yeah.
But that's where I was. I was like, bro, I gotta pee. And of course, the part of Atlanta that I walked down, there's nowhere I could just sneak off and pee. Everything is a freaking concrete jungle down that specific road. I'm like, how is there not a place to pee? And then I look around, there's no homeless people. I'm like, that is what I'm going to use as an indicator.
Right.
If there's no homeless people, there's nowhere to pee.
Yeah.
That's a good. I just made that connection in my head.
There you go.
So, but yes, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Where did we eat it? Where did we eat it? Tin Lizzie's or something?
Yes,
That's right.
We ate before, and then we were obviously going to the concert after, and somehow we got separated, and you're like,
Probably
hey,
somebody had to pee.
For some reason you texted me and said, how do I get there? And I'm like, oh yeah, definitely go right down this road. And of course it was left, and we were like miles, and I was like, oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, bro, you text me next time. I'm like, well,
definitely.
That was a fun lesson to learn.
Yeah.
Let me go take a pee now.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. That's so funny. So,
I think we hear Candace
laughing in the background. So funny.
Good times.
I love it. So, now we'll segue into the musings. I don't know where we are with time.
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't really matter anyway.
Yeah.
I try to keep it an hour solely because I listen to a lot of different podcasts, and when you're at an hour, a lot more people listen to it. At least I do. I'm like, oh, it's an hour. That's not bad. And then you look at Joe Rogan, it's like 4.5. I'm like, man, I better like that dude or gal. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I got to listen to it in 14 days.
Yeah.
So the musings portion of it, and if you're new to the show, which most people probably aren't, but if you are, the musings portion, I just call it musings because there's a lot of different things that interweave in people's lives. And one of those fun things is trials and tribulations.
Yes.
So
we all have them.
We got them all, baby. We just collect them. It seems like a lot of people are collecting them right now. They're like Pokemon. You're like, come to my house. Come to my house, trials and tribulations. I have crumpets. They're like, what the hell's a crumpet? Get in the house.
COVID Pokemon.
COVID Pokemon. But that one looks really weird. Bring him in. We'll take him. We'll take him.
Definitely.
So what I like to do is I like to find out, what my guests do whenever hard times come at them. Some of the things that they tell themselves. And even if sometimes you got to curl up in a ball and take some licks, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens.
Yes.
And then sometimes I have people share certain things. Yeah. Maybe it could be, a recent thing. Maybe it could be something that is the number one trial and tribulation. Yeah. So I always invite people to share, what that is and what do you do when things hit the fan, so to say.
Well, I'm still kind of figuring that out, and to be honest with you, it's been an ongoing trial. It's been an ongoing...
It's got its own wavelength.
Yeah, tribulation for almost 3 years now. So to save, I won't go into all of the medical details of everything that happened, but 2.5-ish years ago, my son Preston was born. And pretty much right away, we knew something's not right here. His eyes were darting repeatedly into the corners, and his hands were shaking. And we're like, this isn't normal. Right. And so we told the doctors, and they're like, kind of brushed it off. And the second day came, and it just got worse. And he was just he was not able to be consoled. And so
that was a day he was like crying for like hours upon hours, right?
Hours. And I've never had a baby before, so
right. But you know that ain't right, though. You're like, what is going on?
What is supposed to be happening, but I know this is not it.
Right.
And they were
Your motherly instincts were kicking in hardcore.
They were going to send us home. And I was like, no, I'm not going home. This isn't right. We need to stay a few more days until I can feel comfortable going home.
Right.
And between that and then one of the nurses also noticed the eyes and the shaking, actually end up ordering an MRI of his brain where they found that he had a stage 4 brain bleed. Which is pretty big, pretty big deal. And so
crazy.
The eye movements and the handshakes were actually seizures. So, very shocking, very upsetting. He was actually like angel flight ambulance over to a children's hospital, and on the way there, he had 20 seizures just on the way there.
That's crazy. And y'all went to Choa, right?
Yes, we went to Choa.
Okay.
Great people there, but anyway, so it was crazy, and I actually wasn't allowed to go with him at the time because they found out that I had high creatinine, which is a sign of something's wrong with your kidneys. And so they
found that out.
They found
that
out. Yes.
Wow.
And so they wanted to keep me for a day. So I've just had a baby. Everything's crazy. My son and my husband are at a different hospital. I'm here. I mean, it was just really horrible, traumatic experience. By the time I got to Choa, he was on such a heavy dose of seizure medication that he was basically in a coma, medicated coma. And he stayed that way for about 2 weeks. So we end up staying at Ronald McDonald House and stayed there for about 2 weeks. And then, my 2-week-old then needed brain surgery.
Right.
So, unfortunately, the first surgery wasn't successful, and a week later he had a second surgery, which was to have a shunt put into his brain. And so, just nothing that a parent wants to be going through, and it's just completely scary and overwhelming. And so then it was about 2 months after total, since he was born. After that 2 week, we were still there, in and out of the hospital for about 2 months, just trying to get the seizures under control, because that was basically a symptom of the brain bleed.
Right. Did they stop the frequency go down once the surgery happened?
Yeah, we started going down to a lower dose. We were eventually able to hold him. We were eventually able to start feeding him ourselves.
Poor guy.
I know. So it got to a point where they were like, okay, you can go home. And so you would think that's when everything starts going great, but that's honestly when everything got even worse. Because now I'm at home with a 2-month-old, and I'm just looking at him going, are you seizing? Like you just don't know what's going on, and you're used to having all these doctors and all these people around, and now you're by yourself.
Man.
And everything,
that's crazy.
all the specialists that saw him, I now have to drive to a facility, so I have about a list of 7 doctors that I have to go to check on him. They're all about an hour away, and he came home with a feeding tube and medication, and it was just completely overwhelming. And then as parents, you're dealing with your own trauma from the experience, and things set you off, and it's just overwhelming. And with his specific thing, we don't know how much damage to his brain has been done. So we don't know if he's ever going to crawl. We don't know if he's ever going to talk. We don't know if he's going to have cerebral palsy. We don't know.
Yeah, I remember that portion. So, that was
it's just
crazy
looking
scary.
At your child saying, is he jumping weird because he's just off balance, or is he jumping weird because he's going to have cerebral palsy and some things like that. It was just consuming because nobody wants that.
Well, how could it not be consuming?
Right.
I mean,
is my child going to be okay? Are other
you're
kids
watching him develop, right? And you're
are kids going to make fun of him if something's wrong? Is he going to miss out on life? Just huge, overwhelming questions and fears. Then he needed, after that, because of everything, he needed a helmet to kind of correct his skull shape. And then we were rushing out to an appointment when he was 4 months old, and my husband fell down the steps with him. Yeah. So now that was another ambulance ride and a broken leg.
Poor guy.
I know.
He is such a beast, man.
I know.
That boy.
I know. And then around the same
Crazy.
time, they officially diagnosed me with stage 3 kidney failure.
Right.
So, just a lot going on. And things got better. We eventually, got in our groove. We eventually doctors started releasing Preston. Miraculously, he's doing amazing.
Yeah, he's talking up a storm now. He's crazy.
Climbing, he's in gymnastics, he's socializing. I mean, it's amazing. You can't really look at him and not cry when you think about everything that he's been through, because it's just so night and day.
Right.
And then about May of this year, it was determined that my kidney failure had gone from stage 3 to stage 4, and now I'm in stage 5, where I'll be needing a kidney transplant and about to start dialysis here probably pretty soon. So, just a lot.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, just one long trial. Of course, there's good things that happened along the way, and it's not all bad, but a lot of big, overwhelming, kind of like heavy things.
Right.
And then a pandemic in there as well.
Well, first off, I appreciate you sharing the whole story,
that's
for
the
sure.
Trial.
Tell me, with all these crazy, just because a lot of them were peaks,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of your peaks, they had little valleys, but those valleys were a lot of peaks for other people.
Correct.
Was there anything in particular that you can remember, just like, putting it all on the line, or what were you thinking when a lot of this was happening, or was it just instinct going off? Like, what's been going through your head through all these different things that's been helping you?
Certainly the first months, I've just had a baby. I'm exhausted. I'm trying to recover myself, and we're both just like in survival mode. Like for a long time, we were just in survival mode. And I remember, like, my parents or other people would say, like, I'm proud of you for how you're handling this. And I would be like, why? Like, I don't have a choice. Like, I'm just doing it. But we do have a choice. Right. We can have a bad attitude about it, and we can feel sorry for ourselves, or we can show up to the 7 doctors with a good attitude and try and be there for your kid.
Right.
So, I mean, there's definitely, like, perspective can change a lot of things. So definitely in the beginning was just in survival mode. And then kind of somewhere along the way, just realizing that we don't have control. Right. I don't have control. And I grieved that for like a long time, because obviously that's not the experience that anybody wants to have when they have their first baby. Right. And so you grieve like a lot of those losses of those first time things not going the way that you want it to go. But then when you just kind of accept the fact that you don't have control anyway, so nothing's going to go the way that you want it to go, and that kind of probably goes for everybody. Right. That helped me a lot, just kind of letting go of control.
Which is really hard to do, especially we use the term
with my personality type.
We use the term control in the first segment.
Right. Yeah, it's a reoccurring theme for sure.
I love it.
Yeah, so, and I mean, it's kind of freeing when you do realize, like, I don't have control. Like, obviously God knew this was going to happen before it happened, and sitting here questioning, why did this happen to me? Or, all these questions and thoughts that you think about, and you just finally come to the fact that it doesn't really matter, because God already had a plan for this, and I don't have control over it. So a little bit of just accepting that and going along with the ride as best you can.
Right. It's like me and Candace were talking the other day, because just like everybody else has been going through this whole last year, everybody's had their own, trials and tribulations. Yeah. And one thing that I learned this year was that you mentioned is, having a good attitude, being positive about the worst stuff, because, I know it sounds super cliche, but it's like when you're going through a tough time, the more you fight it with a bad attitude, it literally hurts more. Yeah. Like you feel more inflammation in your body, more pain. Yeah. It seems like it drags on forever. Yeah. And it's because of basically your mindset, right? And because, like you mentioned before, nothing bad stuff happens to the greatest people, right? Yeah. There's the universe and God go, oh, that person's really nice. We're going to let them just skate by. He's like, that person's nice. We're going to give them about 4 of them.
Yeah.
Right? But I think that it speaks volumes is trying to, like you said, let go and go with the flow as best you can, because that's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Especially like me, I try to control stuff too. I'm like, I'm going to control all of this aspect of this, and then it's going to hit me right in the face.
Right.
Right. But we appreciate you sharing. Is there, with the kidney stuff now, are there resources and things? Because I know we've been talking as a family, and you can share if you want to or not.
Sure.
But there's a program, I think, that
Yes.
you're enrolled in now.
Yes, so it's something I didn't know about, and a positive to this situation is that I am young and otherwise healthy, so I'm qualified for this program called Kidney for Life, and so that means they not only look at your blood type and other, they have things called antigens and other things that would match you with somebody. They also look at your DNA, and so that way you can find the best possible match.
Oh, cool, like the alleles and all this stuff that make
so,
sure that they all link up.
Yeah,
oh, that's
and so
cool.
a perfect match is like a 6. So essentially they're going to be finding me a 6.
Sweet.
Which is awesome. So hopefully, like the normal life of a kidney is probably, I can't remember exactly, but it's like 12 or 15 years or something like that. But with the Kidney for Life program, hopefully, you would not...
Kidney for Life.
Kidney for Life.
Right, hence the name.
And you can also maybe wean off some medications and things like that. So...
that's right. Yeah, I think. So basically,
you're going to be on something called an immune suppressant, and that suppresses your immune system so that your body doesn't attack this foreign kidney. But
right.
with such a good match, you can wean off those medications. And
which
obviously,
means that your immune system can stay higher.
Have a higher immune system,
right.
less possibility to get sick or cancers or other scary things that you need your immune system for. So. Right. I mean, and that happened too when we were in the NICU. One of the doctors told us, Preston's the healthiest baby here. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Isn't that scary?
Yeah, and it's not like to say that I take pleasure in knowing that someone is worse off than me.
Right.
But it does help you keep things into perspective that we always have something to be grateful for.
Right.
And so, I don't want to have a kidney transplant at age 30. I don't want to be on dialysis at age 30. Like, who wants that?
Yeah, no, that's
when
scary.
you have a 2-year-old,
sure.
When you have a 2-year-old, nobody wants that. But I am healthy, and I have these other opportunities to hopefully recover from this and go to a semi-normal life after.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, so.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, not to make a joke out of your situation, but I was talking with Al the other day, and he was talking about, because, he wants to donate his kidney, to somebody, so then the whole program works. And he was saying something. He's like, yeah, man, I'm trying just to, not have it where I have my surgery and then Mal has her surgery. I said, me either, because I'm going to be at the house waiting on y'all, going up and down the steps, bringing y'all drinks and all the soups and everything. I said, y'all need to calm down, bro.
Well, what's worse about that story is, like, life's been so crazy. We're, like, kind of looking forward to that. We're like, oh, sweet, our date night's going to be recovering from kidney surgery. Like, we can just chill up in the bed and, like, watch Netflix together. Like, we haven't been able to do that in forever, so.
I love it. We'll have some tomato soup, and I'll make you guys some grilled cheese.
Yeah, we'll be posted up together. So that's what we're looking forward to.
I love it. So did they give you a time frame on when they think that all that stuff will come? I mean, obviously it's a toss-up because of all the different avenues that you got to go through, but did they give you an idea?
So with Kidney for Life, they're looking for a perfect match, so they said it could take a few months longer, but I mean, I think it would be worth the wait. It's something that I'm willing to wait for. So they said it takes about 2 to 3 months longer, but the good news, again, to look on the bright side is, which I'm not a bright side person. Right. Let me clarify that, because I'm very much a glass is half empty person.
Mark Rutledge.
I have to fight against that. So, and if anyone's thinking that I'm just this Miss Positive, don't be fooled. I'm a very negative person.
And that's why we have this portion of the podcast, so that we can let people know you can too, baby. You can too. I should have Uncle Sam on here. We want you, bro.
You can make the choice to look for the positive thing, and it takes a lot of effort for me, but the positive, I forgot where I was going with this.
Basically, talking about the wait time for the kidney.
Yeah. So the positive is that it'll be a little bit longer of a wait, but it'll be a better match and it'll be a better outcome long term.
Right.
So hopefully sometime this spring-ish we'll get some good news.
I love it. I love it. Well, I appreciate you sharing.
Absolutely. I think that's the point of going through anything, because we all go through it, but you never know who could be going through something similar, and a little encouragement goes a long way.
Well, that's another thing. You hit the nail on the head, because one of the big reasons why I even started the podcast was not only to talk about the stuff that I like to talk about, but I also, there's just something about the human predicament, and I think a lot of people, especially with this whole COVID thing, we've all kind of been cloistered and we can't be around other people. But the one thing that I think is something that we all forget, even before COVID, because I don't like to use COVID as a crutch, right? Is that I think people don't realize how much we need each other, right? We all survived as a group of individuals because we were exactly that, a group of individuals. You didn't have just a random human walking around not getting eaten by saber-toothed tigers, right? We all had to group together by watch out for that target man, right? But it's the same thing now. It's just a little bit different, right? It's not as archaic, but it's super important. And I think it's even more so because we have people will listen to this. In the last episode, we had Fico on, right? And Fico has struggled with alcoholism. And I know hundreds of people that are in my extended network that have dealt with that, right? And Fico's words of encouragement help those people in some way, shape, or form. And it's the same thing with your story. Who knows what people are dealing with? And if they hear that one little story and they're like, man, I've been beating myself up. But if, you hear anything that'll get somebody out of the hole, because at the end of the day, like you mentioned it before, and I'll paraphrase here, but you're the only person that can do anything for yourself. You can either feel sorry for yourself, but no one else really is. Like, people are like, hey, man, that sucks. Like, obviously, family members are like, dude, that's terrible. But at the end of the day, people feeling sorry for you doesn't get anything done anyway. It's just people,
and you're the only one that has to go to the appointments, and you're the only one that's walking through it. We all have suffering, and like you said, especially this year, we all have loss with COVID. We've all lost something. Everyone's experience is obviously different, but again, I forgot where I was going with that.
I liked it, though.
Basically, just
we were on the ride with you, though.
people will feel, like you said, sorry for you, but you're the one that's got to go through it. Is my point. So if you're going to be the one feeling sorry for yourself and making it miserable, you're only hurting yourself.
100%. No, I love it. Well, so if somebody, we'll wrap this thing up. I appreciate everybody listening very much.
Thank you so much.
So let's say that somebody has a friend that's a bride, or there's a bride to be listening to this right now. How do they get in contact with you if they want to utilize the floral situation?
Email, the best way. You can email me directly, Mallory@stylishstems.com. You can find us on Instagram, message us there, and also our website is www.stylishstems.com.
Cool.
So you could also reach out. We have like a little questionnaire there. But yeah, reach out.
I love it. Perfect. Well, again, I appreciate you coming on, spending time. This is awesome. So happy. Our next guest, I believe, is going to be Danny Styles, and so we're going to talk to him. I think right now we have a tentative date of March 16th, I believe. So he's going to come on. Me and that guy, he's like my trivia go-to guy. Of course, with all this crazy stuff and him moving to Lawrenceville for God knows why, we haven't played trivia. But that should be an interesting show. So next month, and then after today, I'm going to put this up on our YouTube channel, which is Marketing, Music, and Musings. Just type M&M&M's in there. It'll pop up all the videos. If you like, go in there, subscribe, hit the little bell thing. I sound like a YouTube person, but do all that stuff. So then that way, when I put it on there, the next ones will pop up if you can't make the Facebook Live. The other two videos are on there as well. Fico from last week. Richie. So if you're looking for real estate, which is popping right now, reach out to Richie. If you're looking for someone to clean your house or your business, reach out to Fico. And then if you're looking for some floral arrangements, Your girl, Mallory. But we appreciate you guys very much. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys take care. Kisses.